Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. We didn't have to wait too late to do the show because of Extra Time tonight, which was a bonus. Yes, we've seen that the last couple of nights. Nadim Anua is with us. Stevie Nicol is with us. Nadim's been throwing some shade about Stevie's eyesight in the main show, but we'll see if that comes up again. Yeah. All right, I've got my questions in my email, apparently, so let me check that. Also, our talent schedule's in. Yeah, let's see who's on. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Jack. All right. Nadim, as an impartial person from Manchester, which match was more exciting to watch? PSG against Liverpool or Atleti against Real Madrid?
I'm going to go PSG Liverpool because I saw lots of attacking and it didn't feel as tense from that sort of standpoint. So yeah, I think that one's an easy one for me with all due respect because I saw, as I say, more sort of attacking intent and different styles of football at play for that PSG-Liverpool game compared to the Madrid derby, which is a good game by itself, but I think that's more for the purists, whereas the other one was just a footballing game, which I think anyone can get into.
I think he only picked that just to spite you, to be honest, Stevie. The way he's been going tonight.
No, not at all. He knows what he's talking about. That
yeah, absolutely. All right, Stevie, what's more pressure? Taking an in-match penalty that could win your team the match or taking one of the penalties in a penalty shootout?
Or taking one of the penalties in the shootout. Because one can win you the match. I mean, I guess you could argue it could lose you the match, but it could win you the match. But absolutely, penalty shootout, you miss, chances are you've cost your team.
Not always, though, Stevie.
Not always.
Not always.
Not always.
As you found out.
Sometimes it works out.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes you just have to have blind faith in yourself, just pick up the ball and walk straight to the spot, right?
Yeah, and take the pressure off everybody else. Team player.
Ah, yes, absolutely. Nadim, with all the signings Man City needs and how long players usually take to adapt to Pep's system, should we expect a quick turnaround or just steady improvement next season?
If we're talking about improvement based on that sort of run of 9 games where they lost 6 or 7 of them, then yeah, I'd like to see that improved upon. But I think for some of the players that have come in, I think you'll see them get better and better each year. I think there's a really important role at the minute with the seniors that they're, well, not seniors, the older players that have in a squad like Gundogan's and De Bruyne's and so on, who aren't necessarily at their best, but they can be a gateway in terms of helping the younger players understand what it is to play for City, what it's like to play for Guardiola, what it's like to try and be successful and potentially win league titles. So it might take some time, but I think they'll be more competitive next year. Whether or not they'll be, league title winners, I'm not sure. And this is probably going to be the first season in a while coming up where maybe they're not one of the favourites to win the title. But this is all going to be part of the process, and you can't have the same cycle of players do it for a decade. Things do need to change, and as long as they're building for the future, then the amount of time it takes, as long as it finds a destination, I'm comfortable.
Stevie, from a player and manager's perspective, how long does it take to get over Liverpool's loss to PSG?
Well, to be honest, in some ways, it's the greatest thing to happen that you've got a cup final the next game. Generally, you can't wait to get back on the horse when you've had a poor game, regardless of whether it's a big game or a small game. If you've had a poor game, you can't wait to correct that. And so I think in some ways, this is maybe a good thing. I tell you what we will find out though, because Arne Slot this season, we've been talking about how good his coaching is, how good his decision making is, how the way they play. Sometimes they play at 100 miles an hour, but sometimes it's slow and controlled. But I don't think he's ever had his man management skills tested yet. And his motivation and man management skills will absolutely shine through, hopefully, at the weekend. Because if he can pick his team up and get them playing anywhere close to what they're capable of, that'll be down to those things that I've been talking about there.
Okay. Nadim, just how aware are players of what's going on behind the scenes in a club?
That's a good question, but I think it depends on what the club is, where it's at, because sometimes, behind the scenes, you've got some clubs, especially down in the football pyramid, who, aren't getting paid. So yes, it's pretty clear at that point that they've got some issues. But on a day-to-day basis, if you're coming into work, you're seeing the same faces, like it's a familiar environment, you're training, the manager's the same, and there aren't things changing subtly, like say the way you travel or say places you stay or say the food that you eat. then people can sort of look into it but know that it's not really affecting them. I think at times you sort of realise these days the scale of football clubs, because some of the discussions which do matter, as a player you couldn't be further away from. So I don't think players essentially are literally that aware, and a lot of people as well, they're sort of specialists in football, not in anything else, so it's very easy to focus just on that. Obviously for some, you see the bigger picture, you think about your futures, you think about is it stable, is it not? But in reality, playing football is the thing that's always the main focus, and from there, that's basically all I've seen through my career at least.
Short and sweet tonight. We're going to end it there on Extra Time. Yeah, got a long weekend ahead. We're going to let everybody get a little rest. Thank you so much for sending in your questions on Instagram and over on X. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again.